Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. I'm so excited because today is the new Heffy Doodle official release day, and I'm going to be sharing some of the brand new products to create a card as I am participating in today's Heffy Doodle blog hop. So make sure you click my blog link down below. I'll put it towards the top of my description so you can hop along for a chance to win a gift card, which is pretty awesome. So I'm just quickly going through some of these new products. I am using the Slimline Scalloped Peekaboo dies, just the thank you portion. I'm using the 2x2 Safari Animal stamp set and dies, the main squeeze stamp set and dies, which is a freebie, and then I'm also using the Wild at Heart sentiment stamps, the new Wonderful Windows Masquerade mask. I'm also going to be grabbing my Imperial stitched rectangle dies and my summer holiday pattern 6x6 paper pack, which is also new, and I will have everything linked down below. But let's jump into how I am creating this card. So I'm grabbing my Wonderful Windows Masquerade stencil and I'm lining up some cardstock behind it. This is my alcohol marker friendly cardstock, and I'm using the awesome grids on the stencil to line up my A2 size piece of paper behind the mask, the stencil. And I'm going to be stamping my critters in 4 of the windows, so I need to do a little bit of masking with my Heffy Doodle tape. Now, the stencil itself comes with squares to place inside of the openings, but because I'm going to be doing a lot of masking at once, I just thought I would grab my Heffy Doodle paper just to help me make sure my animals stamp inside of the squares in this mask. So I'm going to ink those up with a black alcohol marker friendly ink, and I stamp them twice to get nice clean images, and I use that Heffy Doodle tape to block anywhere I didn't want my critters to stamp. I did get a little bit of my rhino's foot there on my stencil, but it's so easy to clean. I just use a paper towel and wipe that up. So I stamped my little flying toucan, my lion, a rhino, and then I'm going to stamp my giraffe. But this time I want my giraffe to kind of come up out of the square because our giraffes have such long necks. I want to make sure that I can add a little bit of fun element. So all of my animals are in the window, but I wanted my giraffe to kind of pop his head out. I grab my thanks die to make sure I have plenty of room for my sentiment once I'm done. And then I'm going to figure out how I'm going to stamp my giraffe down after removing the stencil. So I'm lining up that Heffy Doodle tape to be at the bottom of that square. And I'm going to place where my giraffe is going to be stamped. And then I will close my MISTI to pick up the stamp. And because of the magnets, I'm able to quickly lift up that stencil, making sure not to move my paper. And then I can repeat that stamping. So again, with black alcohol marker friendly ink, I'm stamping my giraffe, and I will stamp it twice to make sure that I have nice coverage, creating nice bright thick lines. So once I finally get that stamped, I can pull it out and work on my coloring. So let me take all of my Heffy Doodle tape off and grab my paper out of my MISTI, and I'm going to go ahead and color it in using my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. Those are my alcohol markers of choice, and here you can see they are all colored. So for my next step of masking on this card, I'm going to be using some Distress ink to color in kind of a background, so like green and blue behind each of my animals. However, because they are colored in, I don't want to do any ink blending over my animals, so I will be creating masks out of the Heffy Doodle tape using the coordinating dies from the 2x2 Safari animals and the main squeeze freebie die sets. So I'm running those through my little die cut machine, and then I will line up all of my masks to cover my images. So again, I'm masking my critters so I can do some ink blending without disturbing my cute little colored in critters. I lifted up my paper, and I'm just using the light from my desk to put the mask over my animal. So first I'm starting with the giraffe, doing my best to get it centered as possible, again using my light to get that mask all lined up. And then I'm going to repeat that process for the toucan and my rhino, and I will also die cut another mask for my lion and get that lined up as well. Once I finally have all 4 of my critters lined up, I'm going to grab my mask from the Masquerade stencil again and line that up back with the grid that is imprinted into the stencil. Using some more tape just to hold that in place, making sure everything is centered how it should be, and then I'm going to grab a little bit more tape to fill in those 2 rectangles in the middle. Now it does come with rectangles like I showed quickly there, but I have a sample, so I only have 1 square, so I thought I would just use my Heffy Doodle tape to cover up both of those middle squares at once. And then I'm going to grab some distress inks to color in those 4 squares with my critters. The 3 colors that I'm using are Lucky Clover blended into Cracked Pistachio, which is then blended into Tumbled Glass. And I'm going to go back with those colors back and forth until I'm happy with the blend. Again, I'm trying to create kind of a background where there's a little bit of grass behind them and a pretty blue sky. So I thought these colors blended really well together. I wanted it to be more subtle of a background, so those bright colors of the toucan and the lion and the giraffe really pop up off the paper. I know my rhino isn't super bright, but I still wanted it to have some contrast to create the little scenes behind my critters. Once I'm happy with that blend, I will pick up the stencil and all of that Heffy Doodle tape that were my masks so we can see the full reveal. So here you can see how easy it was to create 4 little window scenes. And then let's peel off the Heffy Doodle tape so we can see our cute little critters and how they turned out with the masking. So I grabbed my tweezers to help me get it started and peeled, and there you can see that my masking really helped keep my critters looking bright against the background of green and blue. So once I get all of those peeled up, and again, I really like this technique because I think it's fun when your die cut images match anything that's masked. So this is a really handy way to do some masking around your stamped images. So now I'm going to grab my Summer Basics paper pad that is a new release as well, and I'm going to grab my stitched Imperial rectangles to do some die cutting. I'm using the A2 size to die cut out of a yellow polka dot and then a smaller to die cut my stamped and masked images. I use the thanks die on some blue polka dotted paper as well as some cardstock, which is Ice Blast, and I'm going to layer those for my sentiment. But before I glue anything down, I know I want to grab one of my sentiments from the Wild at Heart sentiment stamp set, and I went with Party Animal. I'm going to use my VersaFine and Onyx Black because it's my favorite ink to stamp something without my Misty, and I stamped down Party Animal to the bottom left of that opening for my thanks sentiment. I'm going to grab my little glue burt here and I'm going to glue my 2 thanks together to create a drop shadow. I'm going to be gluing my pattern paper on top of the blue cardstock. Again, slightly off centering it to create a fun little drop shadow and just to add more to the sentiment. I will grab some foam strips and I'm just going to line this up behind my sentiment, just filling it in as much as I can for stability. And then I will peel off all of the release paper and adhere it to my card. A really helpful tip when you're trying to use some foam strips behind images or die cuts that have a lot of curves is to peel off the release paper from both sides. So peel it up off of your backing and then also peel up the release paper from the other side. It makes it really easy to curve and bend those foam strips. Now I'm going to use some adhesive behind my white cardstock and adhere that to my yellow polka dotted rectangle. And then I am going to grab a white gel pen just to add in some little highlights on my images. I didn't do that after I colored. And I also used it to hide any area that I might have accidentally went past any of the square lines. So of my ink blending or my alcohol marker coloring. And then I glued that to a top folding A2 card base. I have these blue jewels in my stash and I just wanted to add a tiny bit of bling to this card. So just using a jewel picker and my glue, I glued down 3 of those jewels. That will finish my card. Here you can see it all together. I think it's really cute and fun, and I'm really excited for this brand new Heffy Doodle release. So make sure you head to my blog. Again, it will be down in the description towards the top so you can find out more details on the blog and figure out how you could possibly win a gift card. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!